It started with a lead, not the dramatic kind, just a slow, steady drip from the ceiling above my bathroom sink, annoying, almost rhythmic, like a ticking clock in water. I'd only lived in the building for 2 weeks, fresh out of a breakup, trying to rebuild in silence, solitude, and as cheaply as possible. No matter how high I turned the radiator, the chill wouldn't leave. My breath fogged the air in the morning, and the shadows stretched in directions they shouldn't. 6B didn't want me to go. The front door would lock itself. Windows jammed shut. My phone never had a signal anymore. Friends I called for help never received the messages. Even when I shouted from the fire escape, no one looked up. I tried sleeping in the hallway, but the moment I drifted off, I'd wake up back inside 6B. Always on the bed, always at 3:07 a.m. Whatever you do, don't move in, don't touch the piano, and if you hear humming, run. Because once 6B sees you, once it lets you in, it doesn't forget. That's when I started seeing her. A pale, thin woman with long black hair, always standing at the edge of the room. Her eyes weren't angry, they were empty, as if she was staring through me. Sometimes she'd hum, always the same tune. I recorded it once and played it back through a sound analyzer. The notes matched the requiem perfectly. I'd wake up with bruises on my arms and legs, tiny ones, like fingerprints. One day, I watched through the peephole as the delivery guy stared at my door, confused, then turned and left. Not metaphorically, actual blood seeping from the cracks, running down like tears. I touched it once, it was warm, thick. I scrubbed it off. It came back redder the next day. I screamed. No one heard. I cried. No one came. And then I gave up. I sat in the middle of the room and waited. That night, the piano music started not from a speaker, but from the walls. Hollow notes, heavy with sorrow. I followed the sound, hypnotized, into the bathroom. The mirror shimmered. I reached out. It was like 6B didn't exist to the outside world, or like it had been. Quarantined. No whispers. I thought it was over, until I walked past the mirror and saw her face instead of mine. Trapped, screaming, hands pressed to the glass. That's where I am now, contained. I tried blessing the place. I'm not religious, but desperation makes you creative. I lit sage. I played gospel. I taped up pages from a Bible. The only response I got was the mirror cracking exactly where my reflection's eyes would be. And when I looked into it again, it wasn't me staring back. It was her, and she smiled. One night, I felt something sit on my bed. The mattress dipped. I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis, maybe. But then it whispered again, close to my ear. And I swear I felt its breath. You're in my home. That's when I started digging. I spent an entire Saturday at the public library, going through old property records and newspaper archives. Apartment 6B had a history, a bad one. In 1973, a woman named Lillian Maris had lived there, a reclusive pianist who taught lessons out of her home. Neighbors reported screaming. One student went missing, then another. Eventually, police broke down the door after weeks of silence. They found Lillian hanging by piano wire, her body suspended over a broken piano. She carved musical notes into the walls, pages of twisted, chaotic music can't spell the words they made me play over and over again. The case was closed as a mental breakdown. The apartment was sealed for 10 years before being quietly reopened and rented out again. Every tenant since had left within 3 months. The landlord was vague, a guy named Tony who did more shrugging than talking. But he told me 6B had just become available after the previous tenant left suddenly. It's just a place, he said. Some people just spook easy. But I wasn't imagining it. That night, I found a sheet of piano music slid under my door. I don't play piano. I don't own sheet music. The title at the top was scrawled in red ink, Requiem for the Uninvited. When I picked it up, my hand stung, like I'd touched dry ice. The paper smelled like decay. I tried to throw it away, but it reappeared on my kitchen table the next morning. The notes weren't just random scribbles, they looked familiar. I compared them to a photo from the article about Lillian. It was the same music carved into her wall the night she died. I didn't push him on it. I should have. From the moment I moved into 6B, the place felt occupied. Not visibly. No flickering lights or slamming doors. Just a tension in the air. Like someone was holding their breath in every room. The neighbors wouldn't make eye contact when I introduced myself. The old woman in 6A slammed her door when she saw me. One guy on the third floor muttered "God help you" as he passed me in the stairwell. I laughed it off. People are weird in big cities, right? But that first night, as I lay in bed staring at the cracked ceiling, I heard footsteps. Slow, pacing steps above me, heel, toe, pause. Back and forth. The building was only 3 stories high. 6B was on the top floor. The next morning, I asked Tony if anyone lived in 7B, just to be sure. He blinked like I'd asked him if the sky was green. "There is number 7B, he said flatly. "You're on the top floor." I didn't know how to respond, so I didn't. But I knew what I'd heard. That night, I left my phone recording on the nightstand as I slept. When I reviewed the audio in the morning, I almost dropped the phone. From 2:13 a.m. to 3:07 a.m., there was a continuous loop of heavy pacing. Not rats, not pipes, human footsteps, and every few minutes, a faint dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor. I tried to rationalize it may be noise from the building next door, or some kind of structural echo. But then the whispering started. At first it was barely audible. I thought it was my neighbors through the vents. But one night, as I was brushing my teeth, I heard it again, clearer this time, and coming from inside the bathroom mirror. "You don't belong here," it said. I froze. Toothpaste dripped from my mouth. I didn't even rinse. I backed out of the room and left the light on all night. By week 3, the atmosphere in 6B had changed. It was colder, noticeably so. I was furious. I confronted Tony, who finally admitted there were rumors, but claimed nothing ever happened to him when he went inside. I knew I had to leave, but it was too late. I stopped eating. The food spoiled too quickly. Mold would grow within hours. I tried ordering and no one delivered. On the 40th night, the walls began to bleed. I woke up in silence. Everything was clean. No blood. No cold. No sheet music. If you're reading this, it means 6B found someone new. It let me go. Or maybe it traded. And neither will you?